Welcome back, guys, to Being Mommy. I hope you guys have enjoyed our little mom hacks, and I hope you are as well enjoying your Sunday afternoon. Today, we have a very fantastic topic, a very informative topic, and I love that our guest today came on board to share her story with us. We'll be talking about mothers with HIV. Yeah, living with HIV. I know one of the first tests that you do when you start your antenatal clinics is that they check your HIV status, and this is just usually just to ensure that at this point they can either help you, guide you through your pregnancy and protect your child from from you transmitting the HIV to them. So we're going to learn more about this from our amazing guest. Karibu sana.
Thank you for having me.
Please introduce yourself.
My name is Feni Awiti. I'm
Yes.
a 26-year-old single mom of 2 kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. How old are your kids?
The firstborn is turning 4 years this month, 26th December. She's
Yay.
literally a baby Christmas, and I'm so
Nice. You
excited.
just
Yeah.
gave-
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then the secondborn is barely 2 years, 10 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
You're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Good stuff. So you were so excited about your girl, your girl turning 4 years old.
Yeah,
Tell me
yeah.
a bit about that excitement.
Well, I'm excited because, it's 26th December.
Yes.
So I was actually thinking that this year, what we could actually start our Christmas, the vigil on the eve of Christmas on 25th because
Yes.
of her birthday on
Oh,
26th.
yes.
We could just do something little but so special, like a
Yes.
pajamas party and all that,
Yes.
for them. I know they really, really love and cherish their birthdays so much.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes. And I know even kids right now, when we're moving into the December holidays, are excited
Yes,
about
exactly.
stuff that they can do with their kids.
Precisely.
Yeah, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
So just tell me a little bit about your story. You're living with HIV
Yeah.
right now. Tell me about how you found out about your diagnosis.
Well, so I am HIV positive, and this is how I found out about being HIV positive. There was this organization in my school. I went to Asumbi Girls High School.
Okay.
There was this organization that came to my school, and they were offering soda and bread. And you know those boarding vibes when you're so broke and all that,
Yes.
for
Oh,
an
we know
organization
about
to
that
come.
brokenness
Yes.
that time.
So an organization comes and they're like, we are giving soda and bread for someone who can get tested. I'm like,
Yes.
oh my God. I'm not even looking at the test.
Yes.
I'm looking at the soda,
The
and,
soda and
bread.
bread.
Yeah. So I went on with the...
Because
with the
boarding school life, kwanza you rarely see bread and soda and
Thank you.
githeri kila siku.
Precisely, soda, bread, maybe you can buy, we always call them quoties. Maybe you can buy quotty, but soda, really, that's like a very, very huge deal,
Yes.
yeah. So I went for the test, and the counselor was not so, I don't know if I can say not so receptive, but then it was 10 years ago.
Okay.
So that was in 2008. I was in Form 2, second term.
Yes.
So then the counselor asked me, have you ever tested before for HIV? I'm like, no. At the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, when are you done? I want to go for the
I want my
soda.
soda.
Yeah. So, okay, do you have a boyfriend? I'm like, no, I don't have a boyfriend. Okay, so double line means you're HIV positive. Single line means that you're HIV negative. I'm like, okay, let's go with it. So when she's harvesting the blood, I'm just thinking of the soda and bread. I'm like, oh my God, they're almost running out.
Yes.
Literally, by there I was just thinking of the soda.
Yes.
Yeah. So I go, and then after about 5 minutes, we wait for the results, and then they're back, and the counselor asks, can you remember how we said you'd interpret the results? I'm like, yeah, I remember. So double line means that you're HIV positive, single line means negative. I'm like,
Yes.
okay, let's go with the kit. The kit read double line. So I'm like, oh my God,
You're
okay.
like, wait, what?
Yeah, so I'm a 16-year-old girl, and I'm there, and my results are HIV positive.
Yes.
So immediately what I did was, of course, at that time, normally this is what happens when you're HIV positive. The first thing that comes into your mind is that, no, there's a mistake that was made. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
It has to be a mistake.
Yes.
Even if I was sexually active, I'd still say it's a mistake. You know,
But at
because
the
it's the
time
first
you
time.
weren't.
Yes, because you worry, and then the moment you start saying that it was a mistake, it's like you're now letting denial get the best of you.
Yes.
And that is exactly what I did. So I got out of the room, and something so funny is that after getting out of the room, I still went for the
your
soda,
and bread.
Yes.
You're like, you
I
know
was
what?
like, oh no. All
You're
said
wrong.
and done, I
Yes.
still want the soda and bread.
Yes.
So I went for the soda and bread, and like I said, it was 10 years ago, 2008. So normally what they did back then was they would register your name.
Okay.
Not really your name, but then the number, because it's like this organization really wanted data. So they would, they had my number. I remember it was number 286. And then it would say, it would read 286 in a piece of paper, and then positive, like plus VE.
Okay.
That's it, yeah.
Yes.
So then I went and registered for the soda and bread, and I was given the soda and bread, and then I went at the assembly ground. That place, it was like a room, and there was so many lockers or so many tables of people being tested. By the way, it was not that private. I think
Yes.
they just wanted they wanted data. So just in front of that classroom, it was one of our classrooms, was an assembly ground.
Okay.
And then I'm at the assembly ground, and I'm holding my soda and bread. I'm like, oh my God, this is happening. I'm HIV positive. I don't know how the soda and bread fell off,
Oh, yeah.
but it did. And that was like a moment of, you know, okay,
It
now I
hit
need
you,
to
it's
really,
sunk
really
in.
digest the fact that I'm HIV positive. So I was thinking, really, I'm in a family of 6, I'm the last one. And I have, I don't have parents. I'm a total orphan. My mom passed on when I was 10 years old. My dad when I was 5 years old.
Okay.
And I had this supportive uncle who paid my fees back then. So I was wondering, who can I tell in my family really about my HIV status? How they take it? Do they really absorb it? Is it the right time to even tell them? Which channel am I using? Because it is boarding school, I don't have a phone or something like that. I have to go all the way and ask for a phone from either the matron or a counseling teacher. So I thought to myself, that's a very huge and long process. What I'm going to do is tell my best friend. I had a best friend who had my back, literally, on everything. I was one careless girl in high school. By the time I was those students that, by the time Form 1 second week was there, I had nothing. No skirts, no
okay.
nothing. No,
Everything has been stolen.
Yeah. Either stolen
Stolen
or then
or
no, I
lost.
can just say that I was careless. I can't
Okay.
say really, really stolen. It was
Yeah.
just a careless girl.
Okay.
So then my best friend had my back from the word go. So I went and told her I'm HIV positive, and I really like joking a lot. And she said, no, Fanny, you're kidding. I'm like, imagine, no. No, this one, I'm so serious.
Yes.
Here are the results.
Yeah.
Because she also went for the test, and she showed me
High
negative.
results,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm like, here's what they wrote. And she's like, oh, maybe they're lying, you know, maybe the plus
So
slid,
she
you
went
know,
through
something
the
like that.
denial as well, or
As well.
just not
But then I told her, no. I saw the kit. It read double line. I'm positive. We need to deal with it. And she's like, okay, I'm going to be there for you for
Wow.
this time that you're HIV positive. So I was so excited. My best friend said that she's going to be there for me.
Yes.
So then after 4 days, I went serving in the dining hall. On the contrary, I really loved Githeri. I still love Githeri. So weird, but Githeri is one of my best meals,
Oh,
and it
wow.
happens to be an immune booster. So I really, really love Githeri, and I
Okay.
loved Githeri back then. So I went to serve. I'd be so excited on Githeri days. I went to serve, and then getting to the dining hall, I see these groups surrounded. You know, there were so many groups that were formed, and at the I'm going to serve, and then I hear some whispers. Oh my God, that's why she's so plump. She's taking those drugs. I had not
So you
even
had
been on
someone whisper
ARVs.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And those days I was so hippies and all. So I went back to the dormitory, and I told my best friend, you know, I had my story somewhere. She didn't even get to hear what I had to say. She told me, I want my blanket, I want the bed sheets, I want the skirt, I want the plates.
All the things that now she had been sharing. with
Yeah, I
you.
don't want to get infected with HIV. So yeah, I had to, and you know, she was shouting. And you know the way girls can be so much dramatic at times.
Also, she's telling you with all that attitude.
I want my plates, I want my spoon, I want what, and then everyone was listening. So I had to give her that. And at that time, that was the first time I experienced and faced stigma, literally. At a high level of it, and there was so much of it in high school. And I remember I was in Form 2 second term. I went on with the same school because, like I said, I'm a total orphan. I didn't have much luxury in choosing to change schools. Oh my God, I can't, you know, I'm psychologically traumatized, so I didn't have all that. I had to, you know, my uncle paid for my fees. He was so responsible in paying for my fees. The least I could do is stay in school. So I called my counseling. I went to my counseling teacher. Of course, they would encourage us, you know, if you have any issues, you can always come to us and all that. So I went to them finally. But at the back of my mind, I'm like, they're teachers, you know, the way we always never trusted counseling teachers. They're like, if we tell them, they'll tell. And then now when you walk to the staff room, everyone would be knowing your story. So I had prepared myself psychologically on that. I went to them and I told them, the other day when those people came and tested, I found out I was HIV positive. And they said, okay, you know, they were not so surprised and so much they didn't really, no, they were supportive. They were not so rebellious like my friend, you know, they were not so cold like my friend. So they told me, you know what, Fanny, these are things that are happening. You know, people live with HIV and all that. What you can do is we can call your sister. So they called my sister, and immediately after, I think 2 days, my bigger sister came, and she told me that I got infected from my mother at birth, and no one really had the courage to tell me that I got HIV, because during those days there was too much stigma about to even talk about HIV in the first place. So this was the first time you're actually now hearing the story, because obviously when you're told you have HIV, also as much as after the denial, I'm sure the questions that follow after is, I mean, how did this happen? You know, did I, because we always, did I cut myself? Because sometimes you don't know how you could have gotten it. So you think of all sorts of ideas. So at this point, when your sister comes to you to now explain, that's the first time you I heard it from her. And what was that like? That was so, I felt betrayed. Disappointed. They didn't tell me from the word go. I had all these signs of being HIV positive. I would be so sickly. I had everything. I had mumps. Normally, one of the opportunistic infections are mumps for people living with HIV and are now getting to the AIDS stage. We have mumps. We have. I had these skin rashes. I would develop cough frequently, you know, but then I had not really been diagnosed with TB. I can't say I was. So, but then, you know, I would be so sickly, but then at the back of my mind, I'm like, every child gets sick. So I'm not an exception. That's how I really took it. So I felt betrayed, disappointed. At the same time, I really appreciated the fact that they actually told me. At that time. Finally. And I had to deal with that. I had to deal with, I didn't have any choice but to accept that I am HIV positive. But then for me to deal with embracing acceptance, I had to do something that was not right in school. So what I did is that I was no longer a disciplined child. I became a noisemaker. I became so stubborn in high school. I withdrew. I withdrew totally. I was not studying. I got a C- by the end of it all. At all. I was someone that was just off, you know. When I'm being called, when it's time for prep, of course I'll go, but then, you know, I won't do really much. Even during the dawns, I was off. I withdrew completely. So after high school, I had to deal, of course throughout, I had to now start taking my medication. Taking ARVs in high school was another thing that was so hard. Because I remember, and something about HIV is that the moment you realize you're HIV positive, it's all in the mind. That's when all these illnesses come. You know, I had meningitis.
Okay.
I remember those days we had tested for viral load. My viral load was so low. I had
Okay.
115 counts, 115 CD4 counts, not viral load, sorry. Those days there was no viral load. I had 115 CD4 counts, which was very, very low. I was literally having AIDS, not HIV anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it had progressed too. And maybe because I love that, the most important thing for me on this show is that we learn, you know, so that even when we're talking about viral load
Yeah.
and CD4 counts, maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
Okay.
And then we can go into, because I think when we say HIV, we always say HIV AIDS. So people might think it's one thing.
It's one thing, yeah.
So
Yeah.
we can also clarify that
Yeah.
for us.
So normally, CD4 counts are, when we were in primary, we used to be told that white blood cells are the soldiers of the body.
Yes.
You remember?
Yes, the ones that fight all the...
They fight for us,
Yes.
yeah. So white blood cells are found in the immune system. And CD4 counts are found in the CD4 cells.
Okay.
CD4 cells are found in the white blood cells.
All right.
So normally, when HIV gets into the body, it's so clever. I always say that HIV is one of the
Most
one
clever.
brilliant and so intelligent viruses.
Okay.
It is so focused. It knows where it wants to go.
All right.
And it will attack one thing, the immune system.
Wow.
It wants to go to the immune system where there is white blood cells, in it there is CD4 cells.
Yeah.
So it would go and then attach itself. Normally it has RNA and then CD4 cells has DNA. So then it goes and replicates itself to like form a fake DNA.
Wow.
So that it attaches with the other CD4 cells. That is
okay.
how brilliant.
Nice. So
HIV
then the
is.
body kind of feels like it's just part of the
Yes,
rest of-
like it will look like, you know, guys, just relax. We are so normal,
Yeah.
Inside here, we are just still okay, yeah. So then it would attach.
Okay.
Now it knows very well because it cannot attach with its RNA to the DNA of the CD4 cells. It knows it can attach the fake DNA to the real DNA
Okay.
of the CD4 cells.
Okay.
So that is what happens. And it knows that, well, it attaches with something called CD4 receptors. CD4 receptors are like ropes. They just hang like this. They're
Okay.
like strings.
All right.
They're just waiting, by the way, for like the same DNA to just attach.
Okay.
Because they have DNA already.
All right.
So then it attaches, and that's how HIV gets into the body, into
Okay.
the immune system.
Yes.
So the moment it gets into the immune system, it goes and fights with the CD4 cells. A normal person has about 350 and above CD4 cells.
Okay.
When the virus gets into the body, the CD4 cells reduce to, you know, because it attacks the CD4 cells. Actually, HIV goes for nothing. It goes for the CD4 cells only, only and only. And so then that time I had 115 CD4 cells. You can imagine
Yes.
if I had not realized early enough now,
Yeah.
I would be dead by now.
Okay.
Because it would go and then attack the CD4 cells and then, you know, literally eat them up. And then after that, now you'd be having something called dead CD4 cells.
Okay.
When the CD4 cells are dead, HIV is so selfish
Okay.
that it still wants to eat the dead CD4 cells.
Wow.
And that is where
What?
we get to the AIDS stage.
So that's a,
So, yeah, so now when you are living with HIV like Fanny, you have live and so our strong CD4 cells. But then when you have AIDS, that is why I never want someone to call me like I'm a person living with AIDS. No, I live with HIV because
Okay.
AIDS is the last stage.
Okay.
So like it acquires everything.
All
AIDS,
right.
you know, when HIV would be like, what? This is my territory. I have everything in place now. That is the AIDS.
Okay.
And then now when you have AIDS, of course, your immunity is destroyed. You don't have anything, like it's no longer strong.
Yeah.
What happens is you start getting those infections like tuberculosis, very severe tuberculosis. You
Okay.
start getting meningitis, pneumonia, skin rashes, and they are so severe.
All right.
Exactly.
Okay.
So then basically when you take something that really helps, I say that when I take my ARVs, I always say that I negotiate with HIV.
Okay.
Because when you take your ARVs, you normalize one, the intake, how far HIV can go in the
Okay.
immune system, one.
All right.
And then two, of course, now it would kill the virus. It would not really kill it, but then reduce the strength of the virus. So, of course, ARVs and HIV are not so best friends inside the immune system.
So it's kind of like a battle going on in there.
Yeah, I want to, you know, like I'm reducing your strength really, but I'm still here. It's still there, of course. HIV is still there.
Okay.
So those days, what happened is they used to test for CD4 cells.
Okay.
Normally, when you're found, when you discover that you're HIV positive, the first thing that people run to at the facility is how are the CD4 counts? So we call them CD4 counts. Are they 350? Are they 500? Are they 600?
Just to
so
see
mine
what stage you're at. Okay.
So now 115, you're done.
All right.
115 is like, oh my God, this is so crucial.
Oh,
you know,
really?
She needs to be on something and so urgently. And then those days we had lower supply of ARVs. So what they would do is that they would gauge who qualifies to take ARVs.
Okay.
So then I qualified taking ARVs, but then for some reason, I was not introduced to ARVs immediately. They said I would be introduced to Septrin first, and then they would monitor. Normally, when you get to introduce to ARVs, when you have 350 and below CD4 cells, which I qualified. But then I wasn't introduced to them immediately. I was introduced to them after 1 month of not showing any improvement and all that. So that is why I have, that is why I started my journey with boosting my immune system and all that. But that is how intelligent HIV is.
Wow. I mean, you've made it so... like I feel like I understand it better now, and I want to thank you. I mean, we want to take a short break, but we'll come back with you. Guys, want to take a little short break? Don't go away because we have more for you. Welcome back, guys. If you are joining us just now, we've been having an amazing conversation with our guest, and we're talking about mothers living with HIV. And Fenny right here is sharing her absolutely amazing journey with us. Fenny, I just want us to continue with the conversation. And now, I mean, you've shared your story from the time you found out you were diagnosed. I mean, how your sister explained to you how you got HIV. But now you're a mother. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about the time you got pregnant. And I mean, at this point you're pregnant, but you're HIV positive. What was that journey like?
First of all, one thing about HIV is that it's hard. Generally, it's hard because it gives you choices. It's either I would be silent about not sharing my status with my partner, or dad share with him. So I kept on sharing my status with guys that kept on hitting on me, and they would discriminate, they would stigmatize me,
and
they
disappear.
would disappear. So I met this guy, and then he was HIV negative. I shared my status with him, and he was okay with it. So at that time, I had undetectable viral load. It's the amount of virus had gone down. To a point that I can have kids that are HIV negative. I cannot infect someone who is HIV negative. I got to that point.
And this is because of the treatment you have been going through.
Yes. So I was put on ARVs in 2008, like I mentioned. So by the time it got to 2013, 5 years later, my viral load was undetectable. So I met this guy in 2015, 2014, I mean, not 2013, late. And of course we interacted and then got pregnant. And what really happens at the clinic is that they advise you they counsel you on the way forward. If you want to, first of all, conceive, they need to make sure that your viral load is undetectable. They need to make sure that the other partner is okay with it. They need, and those days there was nothing like PrEP. There was just something called PEP. Pre-exposure prophylaxis were not there, but then there was
this is
post-exposure.
What a negative person takes to just ensure that transmitted to them.
Despite you being undetectable, which actually is a safer place still. But then the way people feel about people living with HIV. So we conceived and then delivered. And that was now Faraja, who is a baby Christmas.
Wow, that's a beautiful name.
Thank you. She's called Emanuela Faraja because it was Emanuela. So what we did after 1 hour, the doctor advised that we start giving the baby the syrup, ARV syrup. It was
Okay.
called Nevirapine. So Nevirapine, I take Nevirapine as one of my combinations on
All right.
ARVs. So
Okay.
it's just some type of ARVs.
Okay.
So I started the baby on ARVs immediately after birth, barely
Wow.
1 hour after birth.
Okay.
The syrup up to 6 weeks. She was on ARVs once a day for 6 weeks.
Okay.
And then the first clinic is normally for the 6th week. So I took her to the clinic and they tested and she was HIV negative.
Yes.
And then they always did the testing. At
Every
3 months,
okay.
yeah, she
So-
was still HIV negative. But then
Okay.
after 6 weeks, I introduced her to something called Septrin,
Okay.
the normal Septrin syrup that you can have
All
to
right.
just prevent any infection.
Ah.
But then in the meantime, I would breastfeed exclusively my child
Yes.
because I had undetectable viral load.
All right.
Now this is where maybe people get it wrong or they stigmatize mothers living with HIV.
Yes.
When a mother living with HIV has undetectable viral load,
She can.
I always say that they can behave like they're HIV negative. So you can breastfeed exclusively
Yes.
for the first 6 months.
Wow.
And then you introduce your child to other foods
Okay.
while you're also feeding them, breastfeeding them.
True.
I did that up to 1 year. But then the new guidelines, the new HIV guidelines advises that we do it up to 2 years, like first 6 months exclusively.
Exclusive.
And then up to
Combined.
2 years, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like really that strict because the ARVs are enhanced these days.
Ah.
Like you can be undetectable within 3 months. Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, so that is how Faraja, she kept on being tested 6 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 18 months, and finally 2 years. We said, okay, the baby is HIV negative.
Oh, nice.
She was discharged.
Yes.
Normally those stages we call them PCR. You're
Okay.
taking them for PCR,
All right.
for PCR test. And same thing happened to a Hadi. But now I conceived a Hadi when Faraja was only 5 months old.
Okay. Whoa.
Yes.
5. Okay.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Yes. Yes. We got so comfortable
Yes.
with me not infecting the father of the baby.
you are so ready.
This baby is HIV negative, and you're
Yes.
like, we are gurus in this, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's not really a big deal. Yeah.
Yes.
So, but then it just happened. We didn't really plan for
Yes.
it, but then it was worth it.
Okay.
So when Ahadi was born, the same process took place.
Yes.
And that's how I managed to get them to be HIV negative completely.
Okay.
But then they were HIV negative from the word go.
Yes.
They were born HIV negative. I gave birth normal. Delivery, it was not CS.
Okay.
So it was normal.
Yes.
So normal. That's why I'm saying that as a mother living with HIV, strive to achieve undetectable viral load.
Yes.
Then live as a mother who is HIV negative.
Wow. And by striving for that, that just means being consistent
Taking
with
your ARVs
ARVs.
religiously.
Okay.
Religiously is the word.
Yes.
9 a.m. I take my ARVs at 9 a.m., 9 p.m. It should be 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Because when you miss, even with an hour or some minutes, what happens is that you give our friend HIV room
Yes.
to multiply.
Okay.
And HIV multiplies in millions per second.
All right.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. In preparing for this, topic today, you can imagine I had to read about it because I think sitting here being HIV negative, you're so ignorant about what a HIV positive person goes through.
Yeah.
And then I think we kind of think like we put it over here,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's something so far-fetched.
Yeah.
But I feel like you being here, like you're making it so, you've owned it so much and you've normalized it for me so much. And I just really want to thank you for that. But in reading on this topic, I remember coming across an article that was just talking about how a large number of moms actually admit to the fact that their HIV status affects their parenting. Like they feel that it somehow robs them of them enjoying, their activities with their children.
Yeah.
I just would love you to maybe tell us a little bit about this. Do you feel the same way? Can you relate to that? How has it played out in your life?
I can definitely relate to that, especially as a mom who's publicly come out.
Yes.
You know,
Power
there's a
to
very
you. Power
thank
to
you. But there's a very big difference between a mom who is HIV positive and watching this right now.
Yes.
She's not come out. She
Okay.
can deal with a few things, you know.
Yes.
She can get things in control. But then me as a person who's come out publicly,
Yes.
it can be a bit hard. Yes, that's so true. But then what I do in terms of parenting is that I've normalized HIV literally,
Yes.
even with my kids. What happens is that normally people ask me, what should you tell your kids when they finally watch these clips and they finally watch your, you know, clips on creating awareness, activism and all that. What happens is that my kids know ARVs. They know that mama takes drugs every day.
Yes.
If you ask Faraja, get me my drugs, she'll go and get them. She knows where they are. So for me, starting with the little things like that is makes a whole difference, you know, because with time, then they'll learn. Even in school, whatever they are always taught, you know, AIDS is a killer disease and all that, it would be so different from what they are learning right now, because they've lived with this strong, beautiful mama, and they're the ones who've been handing the ARVs to them, to her every day, you know. So then, and we've really, really normalized it to an extent. There are times that Faraja asks, Mama, today, did you take your meds today? I didn't see you take your meds today. Are they in the bag? Can I get them for you? You know, those small things really help me normalize HIV. And she's only 4. She turns 4 this month. With time, I'm thinking next year, such a time, God willing, she'd be on another level. In a very, very nice way. Yes, I'm putting them out there and I'm getting all this criticism and all that. But then deep down, I know that I'm doing the right thing and I'm doing the best for them. Because stigma-free society starts with us.
That is true.
That is me, Faraja, and Ahadi.
Wow, that is so powerful. And what I can see even in future is them going to school, high school, meeting a friend who has just found out she's HIV positive, just like Mommy did, and not being that person who kind of, you know, give me back all my things, I don't want to be infected. But then they're like, have you taken your drugs? Have you, you know, helping them manage, you know, the journey through the process. And I implore you for, you know, including your children in this journey. So what I'm hearing from you, and just for our viewers at home as well, is that have the conversations with your children, include them in the process. Don't act like it's something to hide from them. They're not too young to know about it.
Precisely. While they might be too young, of course we can't ignore the fact that they are too young. But then in them being young, there are things that kids understand. There are things that they see. Of course they see that I'm the only woman that takes care of them. They see that this woman takes some drugs every day. That is so simple and it's so plain. They see that every day. Yes.
Wow. I just want to, you know, take the time to also shout out the guys who are watching at home. Stephen, I don't think you said where you are from, but I want to thank you so much. You called in and said that the show is very, you know, educative. So I just want to thank you so much. Guys at home, remember that this is a time where you can call in. If you have any questions, you know, to ask our beautiful guests, please do feel free. If you have any comments, do feel free to call in, all right? So I just want to, you know, I feel like you're in a position where you're so empowered, and I only feel like that comes from you having immersed yourself in knowledge about your status.
Definitely.
How did you, you know, you found out in high school, how have you gotten to this point where you're so, you know, knowledgeable about even educating us, taking us back to biology.
To white blood cells.
You know,
What happened is after high school, I failed. I got a C-, and I said I need to do counseling. I started a certificate in counseling psychology. And in the process, I did HIV testing and counseling. And HIV testing and counseling covers everything that he just said at Liverpool. And I got a certificate with NASCOP. So basically, I know everything about HIV, and it makes it so easy for me to create awareness because I have facts. You know, someone will attack you with, oh, no, you are lying, oh, kissing will contract HIV and all that, and attack them with facts because I have facts. So basically, it was not rocket science. Of course, I'm not that intelligent. I went to school for it.
Yes.
I did HIV testing and counseling. I've done counseling psychology. I'm ongoing with my diploma in counseling.
All right.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious about, we talked about that mom at home who's probably HIV positive. Maybe she's not been able to come out yet.
Yeah.
And maybe she's not also interested in going back to school. What else can people do to kind of educate themselves about their status?
I could say that the easiest way, because it is the 21st century, I tend to imagine that at least 80 or 90% of Kenyans have smartphones that can Google, and it's only a second away, So Google, keep Googling. I always say that Googles won't give you, don't trust Google too much on symptoms of HIV, like, oh my God, I have headache, am I HIV positive? Don't Google that, of course. Yeah. But then Google can be trusted in matters of, facts about HIV. Just Google, when you how long can I breastfeed my child?
Exactly.
Do I qualify to breastfeed my child?
Yes.
Google would give you answers like, if you have low viral load, yes, you're qualified. But if you had detectable viral load, it means that your virus is still high. That means that your CD4 cells is still low. You're not qualified,
Yes.
So such things, you don't really need to go to class to learn. Google.
Okay. Well, you just mentioned that there are moms who are, not have the detectable
viral load. Or just say amount of virus in the body.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for them, I don't know if you would know, but how different is their motherhood experience? Because you said they can't breastfeed.
Yeah.
So they'd have to use alternatives. How different is their motherhood experience?
It's different, sad enough, from the word go, because they don't have to breastfeed from the word go. And they're always advised by their facilities. Another thing apart from Google is these people are always enlightened, empowered by their facilities where they go to. We have very enhanced healthcare facilities these days in Kenya. Kenya is really, really trying. So they're always advised not to breastfeed from the word go.
Yes.
Because if they breastfeed, then they automatically pass the virus to the child.
Okay.
If their viral load is detectable, that means that their amount of virus in the body is so high, it means that their CD4 cells are like mine back then, 115. So that is so risky to the child. Now, sad enough, there are moms who are so bitter and haven't really dealt with being HIV positive. And then, especially young moms, and then quickly they have this child, and then quickly they are single moms, you know. They infect their child knowingly. They know that the only place to infect the child is through breastfeeding. They'll do exactly that.
Oh, no.
And they know that it's wrong. So we have such moms. So we have moms that really need counseling, really need counseling on one adherence for them to, if they want to breastfeed the child, they need to adhere well to their drugs for them to have undetectable viral load. Or they need counseling on acceptance. How well have they accepted themselves? Are they on that level? Why should they put it on their child to, on whatever issues they've been having in relationships and all that? True.
We actually, just on that note, we had Pamela who actually called in. She's a teacher from Kitale. Thank you so much, Pamela, for reaching out. She says she has 2 students, because she's a teacher. She has 2 students who are HIV positive. And she says that she's gotten to find out that the parents of these children are not, giving them the treatment that they should be getting. They're not getting the ARVs or any sort of counseling to just know how to manage, this journey. And she's just wondering, as a teacher, how can she step in just to help these children? I guess she's also wondering, are there support groups, a place she can go to, someone she can talk to? So maybe you can just, touch on that.
Well, normally, I just attended some training with the UNAIDS, and we were literally discussing that on are there programs like has the healthcare system partnered with the education system to bring such programs in place, and even to make teachers learn more about HIV, because May was stigmatized by a teacher. That I really applaud Pamela. But then I feel like this is an emergency, and what can happen is that, Pamela, there are programs, and it is allowed.
Yes.
By if the teacher, one, the teacher knows about the student's HIV status, that is a step. Two, of course, I'm sure she is maintaining confidentiality. She should do the same. Three, if it is a boarding school, I'm sure there are dispensaries or hospitals around there.
Okay.
And all the hospitals have ARVs. Let her take it upon herself and, you know, introduce these kids to the ARVs after getting counseling from the school facilities and all that.
Yes.
And then there's always a way that you can do it. Normally when I travel, I can't access my ARVs for maybe months. I ask my counselor to or my doctor to get me more ARVs. So that is what Pamela can do as well. She can ask when the child is on holidays, she can request for them to be given more ARVs.
All right.
But then it is so possible, of course, with their consent. It is so important. The key words are consent,
Consent from the
confidentiality.
children or the parents?
From the child.
Yeah.
Because now if the parents are
stepping
ignorant
in,
about it,
yes.
then the teacher steps in as the child. That is how I would handle that situation.
Okay.
Yeah, because maybe those are parents that are either ignorant or still under stigma, or they're even parents who believe that HIV is witchcraft. They're still on that level.
Okay. And I think something you explained even earlier is just finding out what status, what level,
Exactly.
at what point the HIV has progressed, so that you can know where to start. Because you didn't immediately start with
No,
ARVs.
but then these days, they start immediately.
Oh,
Remember those
okay,
days,
it was
the ARVs were
right.
not so
As strong.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
no,
fine.
no, not as strong, but then they didn't have enough supply of ARVs. That's
Okay.
why we were not being started on immediately. But then these days,
All right.
if God forbid you test today HIV positive,
Yes.
they'll start you on ARVs immediately.
All right. As we wind up, maybe you can just share with us some of the misconceptions that are out there on this particular subject.
The one that I just pointed out is kissing. Kissing doesn't contract HIV. You don't get HIV through kissing.
Yeah.
People think that you get HIV through kissing. People think that when you breastfeed your child, you're passing the virus to them. That is totally wrong. It depends with whether you are undetectable or not. People think that they tend to associate sex with HIV. So many times I get online trolls severally that I'm lying that my mom infected me and I infected myself and all that.
Wow.
So people really, really associate unprotected sex with HIV, which is true because 90% of the time it is true. Yes. But then really there are other ways of contracting HIV other than sex.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I just want to thank you so much for your time. Would, as usual, love to extend the time, but we have our people at the back there who are like time. So we have to wind up. I just want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story.
Thank you for
I want to
having
encourage you on this journey. Keep sharing and encouraging other moms who are still closet, you know, guys, to also come out and encourage people who are on the same path as well.
Thank you.
I want to thank you guys at home as well for tuning in, and I want to remind you guys to share your stories on our social media handles. If you have a story that you want to share with us, do reach out to us on Ibru TV Kenya or my handle at Mwendembai. Let us know what your story is, and we would love to have you come on board. Remember to join us next time, same place. Good night and God bless.